Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I said I was gonna do a video earlier this morning, and I'm gonna do one on the holiday of Kwanzaa, which is a holiday celebrated by um, many African Americans. It's like people have a misinterpretation of it that it's a quote unquote black Christmas or a replacement for Christmas, as if it's a religious holiday. It isn't. It's a cultural holiday, and it can be virtually celebrated by anyone. But it's a celebration of African American history and culture. And maybe originally it was conceived as an alternative in the 19. It started in the 1960s, particularly 1966, by a gentleman named Mulana Ron Karenga. And originally it was conceived as an alternative for Christmas. But in terms of that, it never really caught on as an alternative to Christmas because most um, most black people in America are Christians and believe in the religiosity of Christmas, as I explained in another video. But for Kwanzaa, it represents something different. Each principle, each day represents a different principle in what they call the Ngozu Saba, the seven principles of Kwanzaa. This is in the Swahili language, which is a language of East Africa, that is native to East Africa, which in itself is an amalgamation. Swahili is a combination of Arabic, Hindi, Persian, and of course, East African. The phrase Kwanzaa comes from um, Matundu ya Kwanzaa, which means fruit of the harvest. So it's basically a harvest holiday. In many parts of the world, particularly in various African countries, families do celebrate the harvest because winter is coming and they won't be able to plant as many fruits or vegetables um, in their gardens or farmlands as they would normally. So they celebrate the harvest days, and that's what Kwanzaa symbolizes. Many people criticize it because they say, "Oh, it's a made-up holiday. It's not celebrated anywhere in any particular African country, even in those East African countries that the Swahili originates from." Yeah, that's true, but um, it's not for any particular country. It could be celebrated again by anyone, and it's a celebration of the African American struggle against European hegemony, which that's why Ron Karenga created it. Was that he saw a lot of commercialism in Christmas, and that people had lost the true meaning of Christmas, and that African Americans needed something of their own to celebrate. So he looked around to all the other African countries and he decided that this harvest festival was something that they all did. So he crafted, seven basic principles um, that the celebrators of Kwanzaa could live by. It ends. It extends from December 26th to January 1st. And like I said, each day of the 7 days symbolizes a different principle. Like, for example, today. Today is the second principle, Kuchi Chagalia, which means self determination. Basically, um, here's what it says from their website: to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. So, Again, considering history and that people in the African diaspora um, were unfortunately subject to slavery, they were given names, sometimes derogatory names, by their oppressors. But this is a right to self determination, a right for African Americans and people in the African diaspora to determine their own destiny, not to be not to have their destiny defined by others, particularly by whites. So, and yesterday's principle was umoja, which is unity, and unity represents, unity not just of the African American community here in the United States, but of the African diaspora community in Africa itself, in the Caribbean, um, in Latin America, in the Middle East, the unity of the African diasporic family, something that I've spoken about before in my other videos, um, particularly in my other channel. Go back and look. Some of the symbols of the Kwanzaa festival are the Kenora, which is the the candelabra. It looks sort of like a Hanukkah menorah, but it's made out of wood. Um, it holds seven candles, three black, three green, and one red. And the colors of the candles, of course, are representative of the Pan African colors of the Pan African flag that Marcus Garvey created in the 1920s. That became the symbol of his UNIA organization. Black for the color of the people, red for the bloodshed in the oppression of the people. The fight against the oppression and domination of the people, and green for the lands of Africa collectively. So families use that to symbolize their struggle. Um, the typical greeting for um, if you want to greet someone that is celebrating Kwanzaa is Habari Gani, which sorry guys, I had to look that up. Which means what's the news? In other words, like what's up or hello or happy holidays. So you wouldn't necessarily say um, happy Kwanzaa. You would say Habari Gani to someone celebrating it. Similar to like when you meet a Muslim person, you say Eid Mubarak instead of Happy Ramadan. Eid Mubarak is, or Ramadan Kareem is more appropriate, like this. So Habari Gani. The ending festival on the seventh day of Kwanzaa is called the Kamaru, which is like a feast, like for Thanksgiving. You're finally eating of the fruits of your labor, celebrating year's end. So again, African festivals go in cycles. So um, you had to struggle this whole year, and now you're finally reaping the harvest of your labor at the end of the year on January the 1st. Some of the other principles of Kwanzaa are Naya, which is purpose, Kumba, which is creativity, uh, uh, tomorrow's is Unjuma, which Unjuma, yeah, Unjuma, which is cooperative economics, means working together to build businesses or fruitful endeavors. So it's a community holiday. It's a community um, celebration. You know, people that mock it, they don't understand um, it because it's new. They say, it doesn't have any really significance, and anybody of any religion can celebrate it. Unlike Hanukkah, on Hanukkah or Christmas is not um, it is not a religious holiday. You don't have to be a certain religion to celebrate it. You don't even really have to be a certain race. People are talking about, oh, well, why is Kamala Harris celebrating this? She's not she's not African, or she's not African American, or she's just half black, right? But you got to remember, this holiday is is predicated on the Pan African ideas of Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey, of course, was Jamaican, like her dad. So I'm sure she heard the speeches of Marcus Garvey, and she heard Pan Africanist rhetoric. Even though Malana Karinga invented this holiday in 1966, the roots of the holiday, as far as harvesting, goes back to ancient times. People have always harvested for the winter. When it comes in European societies, this was called the winter solstice. In pagan societies and in African societies, it wasn't probably called Kwanzaa, but the celebrations were similar to Kwanzaa. So the holiday and the traditions are amalgamations of various practices. The Ngozi Saba are general, general, general principles that anybody can abide by. It doesn't say that you have to be a certain religion or that you have to be a certain culture to celebrate it. Anyone can celebrate it. So mocking her because, oh, well, she doesn't know anything. First of all, she probably knows more about East African culture than you probably do in America, because her mom was Indian. And in the book, her mom traveled to Uganda. She traveled um, to Tanzania. She traveled to Kenya, places where Swahili is actually spoken. So she probably knows more about the Swahili culture and the African culture than you sitting there pretending like you know it all. You know that are the haters that are mocking her for appreciating this holiday. So I encourage you guys to learn more about this beautiful holiday. When I first heard about it, I was in grade school. Those people were just starting to celebrate it. And I just love it because I love the vibrancy of African culture. Um, a couple of years back, my friend Lisa and I went to the African Burial Ground in New York, and we saw people that were dressed in dashikis and African hats, and I always loved that kind of thing, like the vibrancy of African culture, the colors in African culture, and red, black, and green are actually my favorite colors. So I really love this holiday, and forgive me if I get some of the pronunciations wrong. I know I always get Ujima and Umoja on the first and the second day confused. But anyway, Habari Gani, happy Kwanzaa to people. Have a for anybody that celebrates, have a happy and joyous one. And to me, what it's about is a holiday to reflect on the struggles of one year and to enjoy the harvest of those struggles for the next year. You know, uh, the death of the old and the beginning of the new, a, uh, a new birth, a new renaissance being reborn. You know, yeah, that's what it represents to me, a rebirth and a renaissance. It's like you go to sleep and then you come back up refreshed and renewed. That's what it represents to me. Renewal, rebirth, and the struggles of a people. Both there's a rebirth collectively and a rebirth individually. Peace.